Hello and welcome. If you're going through a divorce here in Jacksonville, I know you've got a million things on your plate, especially when it comes to money. So today we're going to cut right through all the noise and give you a straight up, solid answer on one specific cost: the home appraisal. Let's get you that number.
Okay, let's dive right in. This is the big question, right? You need a real number so you can actually plan your budget. So what should you really expect to pay for a divorce appraisal here in Jacksonville?
First up, we need to establish a benchmark. This is going to be your starting number, the foundation for everything else.
And here it is, $650. Look, if you only remember one number from this entire explainer, make it this one. This is your baseline, your starting point for pretty much any standard property in the area.
So you're probably wondering, where did we get this number? We didn't just pull it out of thin air. It comes directly from the official VA fee schedule for our region. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're getting a private appraisal, not a VA loan. But here's the thing. Local appraisers use these official VA fees as a really solid benchmark for their own pricing. It makes it a super reliable guide for the going market rate.
And just to be super clear, this 650 number applies specifically to us here in Jacksonville and Duval County. That's the VA's listed price for the two most common types of property you'll see: your standard single-family home and your typical condominium.
So to wrap this part up, even though you're not getting a VA loan, that 650 figure is the most reliable baseline you can possibly use for your budget. You should think of it as the industry standard starting point.
Okay, so we've got our benchmark. Easy enough, right?
Well, not so fast.
A divorce appraisal isn't always your standard appraisal. So let's get into why these jobs are often way more complex and, what that means for your final bill.
So what exactly makes a divorce appraisal so different? Well, it's not just about finding a value for a bank. This is a formal valuation that has to hold up for legal and settlement purposes. That means it often needs a lot more documentation. The appraiser has to coordinate with attorneys, and there's always the possibility of needing court testimony. It's just a much higher stakes process.
You can think of it like this. A standard appraisal is really for just one audience, the bank. But a divorce appraisal, that report has to stand up to intense scrutiny from attorneys, from a judge, and from both spouses. The audience is way tougher, which means the report has to be absolutely bulletproof.
And because of that whole legal side of things, there are a few common factors in divorce cases that can definitely drive up the price. For instance, is your property a high-value home or maybe just really unique? Is it sitting on a large piece of land? A really common one is needing what's called a retrospective valuation. That's where they have to figure out the value as of a date in the past, like your date of separation. And, of course, needing it done on a rush basis or needing the appraiser to be available as an expert witness, yep, that'll add to the cost too.
All right, so we have the baseline, and we know all the things that can add complexity. So what does this actually mean for your wallet? Let's talk about the real-world numbers you can expect to see on a quote for 2025 and 2026. This table really breaks it down nicely. For your standard single-family home or condo, you're starting at that $650 baseline, but a typical range can easily get up to $900 once you factor in the legal stuff. For a manufactured home, the baseline is already a bit higher at $725. And if you've got a multifamily property, you can expect to start at $800 and likely go up from there because there's just more work involved.
And here's that same idea shown a different way, just for the most common property type. This visual really drives it home. That $650 baseline is your floor, but the reality for a lot of divorce cases pushes that cost up toward that $900 mark. And that's a pretty significant gap you need to be aware of.
So this is the most crucial point, and it's absolutely worth repeating. You have to think of that $650 as the starting price. It is the absolute floor. It is not the ceiling. The final number you see on your quote will almost certainly be at least this much and probably higher, depending on the specifics of your case.
Okay, we've gone through the numbers and all the reasons behind them. So let's wrap this all up with a clear, simple action plan that you can put to use right away. Here's your plan in 3 easy steps. Step 1, budget your baseline. That means earmarking at least that $650. Step 2, anticipate the complexity. If your situation has any of those extra things we talked about, add a financial cushion to your budget. And step 3, and this is the most important one, always get a formal written quote that spells out exactly what's included. Let's just hang on that last point for a moment because it is so vital.
That quote isn't just a price tag, it's basically your contract. You need to make sure it explicitly states whether those extra services, like potential court testimony or evaluation for a past date, are included in that main fee. This is what protects you from nasty surprise costs later on.
And there you have it, a clear financial benchmark for your divorce appraisal right here in Jacksonville. You start with $650 and you plan for more depending on your specific situation. And that really leads to one last question. Now that you've got this cost figured out, are you prepared for all the other financial steps that come with a divorce?